interesting to listen Bu Tatiana and Bu Mundi regarding media literacy, and then I will specifically move to my interest in terms of multimodal literacy. So my field of study is working on reading, and then it's totally verbal reading. But now I see that there is a movement that media and technology has changed everything, and then there is a shift from reading literacy to more or multimodal literacy. This is part of the media literacy that I want to say. So my outline would be, I want to focus a little bit about digital era that I think Bu Mundi and Ms. Tatiana already mentioned about. So I didn't really give much detailed information because this has been previously discussed. And I want to work on how to integrate multimodality in language classroom, how to promote student engagement, and then pedagogical implications. So when Bu Mundi and Bu Tatiana are working on media as a very general term, I want to move a very little bit to text. So text become multimodal, and then the idea that student can learn from text in any range it contains. It can be verbal, it can be image, it can be video, and it can be many things. So yes, this is the media that we have, and then several multimodal learning was published in about 2004. Some writer write in 2006, but then these books become much get more tensions again during pandemic situation. So this is the condition that I wanna share with you. So even teaching literature and language also, we can say using multimodal text. So the same with Bu Mundi, I think the theory of Kress, theory made by Kress and then Van Leeuwen about reading image is getting more popular nowadays, where the learners are required to understand what the text mean, what the video means, and then what the audio and many multimodal resources means. So I think we believe that we are working on preparing our learners to be competent at this skill. Critical thinking, Bu Tatiana and Bu Mundi reflect on this one. Creativity, collaboration, and communication. These all are the things that we are focusing on this webinar. I think we all agree about Polsky 2011 that argument that our student now is digital native. So our learners as digital native, but we are as a teacher sometimes we acknowledge as digital immigrant. That's why we sometimes get a problem with showing that our learners has more competence in digital things. So learner's life, Street said, learner's life has been bombarded with multi-semiotic digital input. So it's been about, in the olden days, there was Roland Barthes who say about semiotic. And then we didn't care that about semiotic thing, but now the coming of digital and then make us wake up, oh, okay, there is a semiotic theory about how do we interpret about sign, how semiotic system really reflect certain representation and knowledge. So I think we all know about these things. And then Kress Van Leeuwen also said that learners literacy practice now becoming multimodal because maybe most of our learners having smartphone. So it's like Pak Muzaki said that he like gaming. So gaming is kind of a multimodal things that our learners can engage in. So at the end, I want to say that multimodal pedagogy in language classes has become evident nowadays. As Bu Titiana said, we become learner-centered pedagogy now. And then there is a move from being competitions to more collaboration in a classroom, because because the pandemic have to move our perception about competition, but we try to make the student more on collaboration to achieve the learnings. And also in the last time we learn from technology. So we use technology as delivery. But now we have to come to the space where the learning with technology, where the student learning with social media, they learning from YouTube, they learning from technology. So that's why my field of study about reading is like moving from reading literacy to multimodal literacy or media literacy now. So I don't really want to touch much, but multimodality is kind of use of different mode, textual, oral, linguistic, spatial, and visual for communication and meaning making. So the keyword is meaning making, that the student or we can uh, make meaning from text, make meaning from oral, spatial, and visual, or any digital things. So I want to say here also semiotic approach. This is multimodality is a semiotic approach. So where we have to teach our student about the semiotic things. How do they have to interpret the visual? How do they have to interpret uh, multimodal resources? So this is multimodal pedagogy that Kress proposed, and then it's about to the curriculum. How do we integrate multimodal? How do we integrate media literacy into our materials, into our curriculum? That's the focus of today. That's why even Peng is one of the researcher in multimodality saying that the exploit of modalities, video and audio, is evidently facilitate the student learning of course content. It's mean that when we give our student text and then accompanied by video, accompanied by other modalities, it makes the learners understand better about a certain issue or certain materials. So yeah, against multimodal pedagogy will allow the student to get more engaged in understanding and making meaning from all multimedia resources. That's the benefit of multimedia. And then multimodal literacy is a very narrow specific term proposed by Kress and Javid. It's just the same thing, I think, but they try to bring these kind of things that we have to bring this multimodal learning to our classroom. That's the things. Even last time in UB, we invite Bu Arifah Derajati from ANS, and then saying about that multimodality is about multiple semiotic mode of representation and meaning making beyond the written language. So we have to move from the beyond, we have to move from the written language to bring all possible meaning making to our classroom or to our learners. How do scholar or teachers or educator bring multimodal literacy into practice? So Miller, for example, in USA setting, they use video productions. So the activity is to allow the student to generate digital video productions and then make fee, and then they make programs like poetry interpretation via PowerPoint, and then digital story via iMovie, and then Ranch Ronnie 2010 also tried to bring a video-based material to classroom, and then these kind of things, the practice of multimedia literacy in a sense, how in a sense to bring our learners more literate in multimodal. So last year, Lee 2020 found that multimodal tasks engage and motivate students content learning, and multimodal practices afford collaborative learning. So again, collaborative learning is a very essential to this in a way that it's enhanced, it's developed 21st century skills. But various fellows found that the students should also be explicitly taught how to understand how to construe the meaning from the multimodal text. So what is about the task? Again, my research intensively focus on text complexity. So, but then there was a new proposal that text complexity, yeah, that's good, it's really affect reading. But then there was multimodal task complexity that's been proposed by Norris. This is a book, it's a very nice book. Norris wanna say that there was a task complexity in multimodal framework. And then Machin, for example, this is also a book from Machin to 2016. She said that simple semiotic system is only lexical approach, but complex must be multimodal approach. But again, not many researchers work on a multimodal approach, especially how to grade the complexity of multimedia in the text. This is kind of a John off. This is kind of a framework maybe that may be useful for you. That it could be from digital story project, poetry with visual, picture book, animations. These all the things that John off try to recommend for us as a teacher. Yes, I told you before that my work in textual complexity, but there is a need to rethink about multimodal complexity, especially in Indonesian setting, especially in Brazil setting, for example. So it is very debatable. The challenge, again, to Tatiana and Bu Mundi is digital divide, where our learners has a different financial problems, so they couldn't access the media, they couldn't learn from media, they have equal internet access. Even in pandemic situation where parents role is very essential, sometimes the parent didn't really have a lack of competence in digital literacy. That's also bringing the problem into the complexity of how we develop digital literacy, how do we develop media literacy to our learners. Even the teacher also proclaim themselves that they feel unprepared for multimodal pedagogy. I believe that in Indonesia we've made these kind of things, but in the future we will find our teacher prepare. We will find that they will have more self-efficacy, because as the day goes by, they will be demanded by the situations. Okay, and then this is my last point that I want to say in this webinar is that this is very interesting. During pandemic situations, how do we make the student engage? Because this is in US, for example, 66% students were disengaged. I don't know in Indonesia, we don't have really much large scale research whether during pandemic situation our students are really engaged. So that's why these teachers are challenged now to bring multimodal materials which can make students get engaged in our learnings. Because motivation is not enough in this argument. Motivation is not enough, but motivation should be equipped with engagement, so the student can learn at ease about their learnings. So this is the proposal that proposed by Dornyei 2018, that when we want to make our student get engaged in multimodal learning or in second language learning, the first one is the school should provide an atmosphere where there was a norm accepted by all parties, by all students, by all teachers. And then the second one is that we as a teacher should also encourage, to also bring the relevance of language learning to our students. Why we should learn this media, why we should learn this picture, why we should watch this YouTube. We have to bring this relevant to our class. Number 3 is engaging with curriculum and teaching materials. It is very recommended that we as a teacher also bring reference to our class. Is not only textbooks, but also maybe YouTube, maybe social media, maybe from Instagram, for example. Number 4 is learning tasks. This is very essential that multimodal learning may be best approached by project-based learning, because digital information and communication and technology (ICT) require the learner to be autonomous, require learner to be more self-regulated. If not, then they will not succeed in their learning. So learning tasks should encourage the learner to, to work independently, to work collaboratively with their peers. That's come to number 5. So in our situation, we have to engage the learners into peer group, because it's about group dynamic, right? So this is about the cognitive psychology in group dynamic, where one learner will learn from other learner, and then they will go together and then accomplishing certain goals in their learning. And then the last one is us as a teacher. We as a teacher is very essentials in making our learning and making our learners engage in learning. We have to build rapport, we have to model, we have to have a socio-emotional competency. It's not only cognitive competency, but we have to show our social emotional competency. We will see that in our classroom, for example, nowadays when we have a class, not many students have their video on, and then we have to negotiate with them. We have to build rapport, social emotional. So okay, I think in Indonesian context, for example, I think from my perspective, there need it's like a professional development for teachers, for constructing and developing multimedia materials, and then for parents is also important, because parents really play an essential role in nowadays during pandemic situation. Parents should really be able to select multimodal resources. Otherwise, their kid will go play on game every day. And also student training. Students should also be trained, should also be explicitly taught about multimodal. How is the semiotic? How do we interpret why this picture is bigger than the others? Why this is in the corner? Why this is that? This is a very essential things. And then, yes, student independent learnings, the development of multimodal graded readers is also essentials. Bringing local narrative. This is what I want to say. Bringing local stories to our classroom is very essential, but textual narrative is very boring to some extent. That's why we have to bring our local story to classroom with multimodal text, bringing the picture, bringing the video, for example, so that our learners can get engaged in that materials. And then partnership is very important between teacher, school, and then parents. And then also, I believe landscape linguistic. I think there is a phenomena that landscape linguistic is becoming more prominent today, and then bring that kind of material landscape linguistic to our classroom, so that the learners can understand, oh, what this picture means, how this sign means to our situation. And then I think that's my conclusion is here. My conclusion is that integrating media or multimodal resources to classroom is very essential for enhancing learners' 21st century skills. It's very essential to develop critical thinking from image, from video, from YouTube, from TikTok, even from Instagram. They have to develop that kind of thing. Creativity, communications, and collaboration is very essential. And then the last one, being multi-literate, being media literate, being digital literate means being actively able to understand the information carried out through multiple mode of representation, and not only understand information, but they have to be able to get engaged in generating information. So literacy means two things: getting information and also generating information for uh, changing the environment in learners' life, social life. I think that's all from me, Pak Kiki. I hope it didn't make you all confused about my talk. Thank you very much. Sorry for any inconvenience. Thank you.